Okay, everyone, is there any problem in the TP9? Everyone is okay with the
លោកគ្រូ
previous
ជួយពន្យល់តែដែល3ចាំតែដែល3លំហាត់ទី3លោកគ្រូសូវច្បាស់
TP man?
តែ9លំហាត់ទី
Okay. Okay, your friend asking about the TP9, exercise 3. Anyway, I will try to explain you. Maybe after I explain the TP10. So I will go through the source code as much as I can. Okay, because now everyone focus on doing the project. And in this TP 8, 9, and 10, we mainly focus on the authentication. So all of these services or all of these APIs are needed for your project. Okay, so you have many projects. So all of the projects include the authentication. So anyway, I will try to explain you as much as I can, and you can ask me any question during my explanation. Let's go to understand the new database first. Okay. Now we have the database 10 on the homework 10, the new homework. Last week we focused on mostly on the Node.js, how to build such an API to support the authentication, such as login, register, or to get a user or something like that. And we try to encrypt the password. And also we have learned learn about how to apply the token that can be filled on the in the cookie that can be used for the authentication. Okay? That is the main point. And now we come to the new database. We still focus on the authentication, but we have some part we focus on the front end, and some we still continue to build some API to support our authentication. Okay, so for the first exercise, okay, for the first exercise we have to work on the Vue.js, the front end. We have to integrate the previous database about the authentication. We apply those APIs with our Vue.js, okay? Okay, with our front end. So what we have done some APIs like login, register, and apply the cookie and the token or something like that. So make sure that the token and the cookie can be working fine with the front end with the Vue.js. Okay, so you have to follow some condition here. When you apply your API into the project, make sure that the token is stored in the browser in the browser cookie after you log in. Okay, after you log in here, after you log into your account, the token must be stored inside the cookie, okay, inside your browser. So, and another one, the home page can be reachable unless the token is stored inside the cookie or the token is not expired. Okay, if the token is expired, you cannot access the home page unless you have the token. Okay, and another one, the token can be removed by just calling the logout API or coming to the expired. When you want to remove the token, it can be removed by requesting the logout API, okay? Or when the token comes to the edge by that, okay, it's okay. It's like you don't have any token. It's the same meaning, okay? So you have to follow this rule. Make sure that uh, if a user is not authorized, they cannot access to the home page. Okay, and okay, and now in the second homework, it's easy. Easy for you. You can just build more, or you can just create more API for getting me, updating a user, updating a password of a user, and delete a user from the system. So what you have to do is to create these four APIs. Okay. And in order to handle that, I think it's not, if you can do such the TP9, I think it's not so difficult to build in this API. Okay, you can do it by yourself. Okay, what is get me? Get me here. When we learn uh, in the TP9, we learn about the token, and I recommend you to use some package called JSON Web Token that can be installed inside the Node.js. And the JSON Web Token is responsible for encrypting the object or the string to the encrypted string. Okay, so inside the encrypted string, you can extract your you can decrypt it back to the user information, and you can use it inside the slash in this request. Okay, and for me, in my case, I encrypt such user ID and user email. Okay, when I decrypt it back, I get the user ID and the user email, so I can use it along with this request, so I can get the full information of a user. Okay, so you can get the user information within this API by the information uh, decrypted from the token. Okay. Okay. I hope you understand this exercises. Okay, ទី1គ្នាយើងធ្វើមិនឲ្យ follow rule login ព្រោះយើងនៅពេលយើងធ្វើទៅពេលណាយើងមាន token យើង token ហ្នឹងអាចតាមយក token ហ្នឹងវាអាចធ្វើឲ្យយើងដឹងថាយើងម្នាក់ហ្នឹង login ហើយនៅឬគាត់មិនទាន់ login ទេយើងអាច check តាមយក token បានអូខេអញ្ចឹងយើងត្រូវ follow condition ប្រហែលហ្នឹងហើយមួយទៀតយើងបង្កើត API ថ្មីមួយគឺ get me មួយទៀត update user ចាអាកាសនេះហ្នឹងវាអាស្រ័យលើว่าយើង log in ជាមួយ user ណាយើងនឹងបាន user នឹងតាមរយៈកាត់នេះអូខេ Okay, for the request me API is to get the information of a user. It depends on the authorized user. Okay, when you log in with the user A and you request with the request me, you can get the information of the user A. Okay, if you log in with the user B, you can get the information of the user B through class get me without providing any parameter to the request API. Okay, without providing any user ID. Okay, because you already have the user ID inside your token. Okay, now, okay, let's finish our homework. I hope you can do that. But now let's go to learn something new. Okay, I tried to introduce something, some new technology that it's not supposed to be included inside our course, but I just want to spend some time with you to learn something new. Maybe in this fourth semester, sorry, in the fourth year, you have to go and to take the internship in the company. So it would be very important for you to know something new that might be required from the company. But if they don't need this kind of technology, is okay. Anyway, you know something new, and you can decide to build your own project or your, you know, the, the project in this semester, your final project with this technology. It's okay. It's up to you. And it's not only something that I introduce, it could be something else if you don't understand and you want me to help. I will try to do research for you. Okay, if I can. Okay. And now let's try to know what is the GraphQL. Okay. The GraphQL is such it works the same as the REST API. It works the same as what we are doing. Okay. It is an API, but an API controlled by GraphQL. Okay, it is another conceptual method to manage your API request. Okay, that's called GraphQL. ចឹងអា GraphQL ហ្នឹងវាអត់ខុសពី API REST API យើងហ្មងនេះគ្រាន់តែវាម្យ៉ាងទៀតក្នុងការដែល control API វាមានរបៀបក្នុងការដែល control ម្យ៉ាងទៀតវាធ្វើឲ្យយើងស្រួលជាងមុនអាចថាស្រួលក៏បានឬក៏ពិបាកក៏បានប៉ុន្តែវាជួយ facilitate មួយចំនួន process មួយចំនួននៅពេលដែលយើង request API ធ្វើឲ្យយើង request បាន API ណាដែលយើងចង់បានហើយវាជួយកាត់បន្ថយកុំឲ្យវាស៊ី space ច្រើននៅពេលយើង request ម្ដងម្ដង Okay, and now let's go to understand what is the GraphQL if we compare it with the REST API. Okay, we have two different API. We have the REST API and the GraphQL API. Both of them are to support the API's request. Okay, the GraphQL introduced by Facebook and maybe a lot of maybe famous websites using GraphQL to handle the API request. Okay, and now let's get to know what is the difference between the REST API and the GraphQL API. Okay, what is the REST API? The REST API is what we are doing now. We use like okay /login /register and blah 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 blah. This is what we are doing. It is called REST API. Okay, but there is another method to implement to handle the API request. It's called the GraphQL. Okay, you can build your API based on the GraphQL. Why we need the GraphQL? Okay, let's see something different. Something different here. Okay, we have the REST API. In order to get a breadth, you have to create an API /breadth and bread and another API to get the hamburger. Maybe you can slash hamburger or something like that. If you want another API, you want to get the information of the cheese, you have to slash cheese or something like that. Example here, every request they respond exactly the information they need. Okay, if you want the bread, they return the bread, and if you need the animal information, they return you the animal information by just slash something and slash something. Okay, it depends on your request. But something different here. When you take a look at the GraphQL, you don't need to define so many different URL or so many different request URL. Okay, you just use like /GraphQL is enough. Okay, when you use like /GraphQL, and you have to define the schema or the query. Maybe we can say query to request the API. Okay, so you just use the /GraphQL and you can request whatever you want. Okay, you can request bread, or cheese. It depends on you. It's up to you. Maybe you don't want to request something else. You just want to get bread. You can just okay. I just want to take the bread. Okay, that's all. So inside the GraphQL, there's all of the API, all of the data are linked. Okay, all of the data are linked. All of your service that information or service data are linked to the GraphQL. Okay, so you can get all of this information by just make the request through the GraphQL. Also, the GraphQL is very useful when you have such complexity of your data structure, maybe, and you can control your data with very clean way, And also, when you want to get some data, you can specify what kind of data you want. But otherwise, inside the REST API, if you return an object with the 1, 2, 3 attribute of an object, they will return everything to you when you make a request. For example, you make a request of a user. So in the REST API, they will return all of the information of a user back to the front end. But inside the GraphQL, it's different. Even the API can return the whole information of the user, but the front end or the front end app can specify what kind of the information they want. Maybe inside the user, they just want to get the username or they just want to get the email. So they have possible ways to specify or to define the definition of the request. Okay, whenever they want. Maybe I just want the username. It's okay. I just give me the username. Okay, just give me the user ID. So they will return you exactly what you ask. It is the on-demand request. Okay, but for the REST API, it's different. The REST API, you cannot specify any return information unless you have different REST API request, like you have different URL or something like that. But in the same URL, you cannot get two different returns, okay? Unless you have some logic to apply in the backend to change the return. But for the GraphQL, you can specify the data, the return data, what you want, okay? It's very helpful for you in case you return such a useless information into the front end. It may make your performance slower or have very slow performance inside your front end whenever they request the data. So it is a good way to implement GraphQL instead of the REST API, okay? But if you ask me which one is the most popular one, I don't know. It depends. Some people, they support using the REST API, but some people, they want to work with the GraphQL. And I cannot say that, but both of them are very popular. It depends on you yourself, which one you want to use, okay? Okay. Then some people, they say, okay, GraphQL is very complicated. It's a lot, there's a lot of things to learn. It's difficult to handle such a dynamic data, something like that. But they still have the solution. Unless you want to learn and you want to try something new, you can try with the GraphQL. Okay, there's many possible ways. Okay, let's see here inside of the GraphQL. You can see you can request whatever you want inside one request.
Sorry.
Okay, inside the GraphQL, they have such a playground for you. Okay, playground, not playload. They have a playground for you to test your API whenever you feel your API inside your server. You can test it with the playground, or you can use it with your maybe your Postman. You also can test the GraphQL as well. Okay. And example, you can see here, you can request whatever you want inside the GraphQL, okay, in just with a single URL/GraphQL. Okay, here. Now let's go to see such a demo API request of a GraphQL that all of the data is about the SpaceX APIs. Okay, let's check the SpaceX API data. Let's see. Okay, we have SpaceX API to learn with. Everyone, if you come here, you go to an API like this, api.sh/GraphQL. Okay, you will see here, there's a lot of information. Okay, let me remove here. Okay, there's so many information here. We have maybe the rocket array, the mission, the lunches or the history, the dragon, or some company information. So uh, all of these are the information inside the server that can be queried by GraphQL. Okay, you can see you can just make a GraphQL, a playground GraphQL, and to play with this data. Okay, and make uh, assume that you have this kind of data inside your server. Okay, let me uh, try with the rocket. I want to return the array of the rocket. Okay, the array of the rocket here. When you request the rocket information, they will ask you to specify the selection subfield, the subfield selection. Okay, you have to define what kind of the data you want to return. Inside the REST API, if you put like this, they return everything inside the object for you. But for the GraphQL, you have to specify what kind of the data you want to be returned. Okay. Example, I want to return like the company name, the ID, the name of the rocket or something like that. So the data will be returned as an array, and inside the object, company ID and name will be included as the response inside the array. So let me see, let me try this. Okay. I will try to send a request. Okay, what they gave it to me is the array of the rocket. Okay, the array of the rockets and the data inside the object. Okay, the company ID and name. Okay, you see. Okay, Spy 8 Falcon 1, Spy 8 company Falcon 9, Spy 8 Falcon Heavy. This is the information of the rocket. Okay. So if you take a look here, you see you request such a company ID and name, so they return according to what you requested. Okay. Example, okay, I want something like, okay, the description. Maybe I just take. So they will include the description for you, and then they inside the object inside the array, they have the description attribute. Okay. They have another field for you. Okay, they have this data. So why it is so important? Why it is so useful for you to use the GraphQL? Okay, in some case, example, you want to make such a list for you inside your web app or inside the front end. Maybe sometimes you just want the ID and the name and the company, and for the rest of the information you don't need it. Like you can see inside the rocket they have a, a lot of information. Okay, you can see the engine information, diameter or height, mass, or many information inside this. We don't need all of this. We just need some of them. So you can just select what you want. So you don't need to return everything. But inside the REST API, you cannot do that. Okay, if this if they return this array and this object, you cannot filter. You have to accept everything. You have to select all of them. Okay, they will return everything for you, and you can just decide. Okay, I don't use this, and I use this, but you cannot remove it. So if you see the traffic between the front and the back end, if you use the GraphQL, they reduce the size of the traffic. Okay, they can reduce some of the time. Maybe you just want the name, you just remove it. You just want the name and the ID, and you send it. You can see when the backend return something back to you, they just return just two information. So it's not too big for you to receive, to be received in the front end. Okay. So that is, I think that is the usefulness for GraphQL. It's very important for you to implement this kind of API. Okay. Everyone understand what I explained?
Teacher, can you explain more about GraphQL in Khmer?
Okay. នៅក្នុងហ្នឹង GraphQL ហ្នឹងវាប្រភេទ implement វាអត់ខុសពី REST API ទេតែដែលវាអាចដែលយើងគិតថាវា វាមានចំណុចមួយវាល្អជាង REST API តែវាមិនល្អថាល្អជាងក៏មិនថាដែរប៉ុន្តែវាផ្នែកមួយវាអាស្រ័យលើយើងបើសិនជា application របស់យើងវាប្រភេទ data ច្រើន request ច្រើនហើយយើងចង់សម្រួល data របស់យើងកុំឲ្យវា complicate ពេកឬក៏យើង request វាមកយើងកុំឲ្យវាផ្ញើមកទាំងអស់យើងចង់បានអ្វីដែលយើងចង់អត់អីទេអូខេខ្ញុំឧទាហរណ៍មួយឧទាហរណ៍នៅក្នុងរបស់យើងនៅក្នុង API របស់យើងវាមាន user មែនអត់អញ្ចឹង user ហ្នឹងវា return ID name ព័ត៌មានអីផ្សេងច្រើនមែនទេអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំលុបអានេះចេញខ្ញុំ return ទៅត្រង់ user អញ្ចឹងនៅក្នុង REST API របស់យើងវា return ព័ត៌មានរបស់ user ទាំងអស់អញ្ចឹង object ព័ត៌មានរបស់ user ទាំងអស់ហ្នឹង first name last name ហ្នឹងរាល់ពេលដែលយើង make request ហើយវា return គឺវា return data ទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងមក object ហ្នឹងវា return ទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងមកអញ្ចឹងយើងអាចធ្វើអីបានទេប៉ុន្តែនៅក្នុងពេលដែលវា return object ច្រើនឬក៏នៅពេលដែលវា return data នៅក្នុង object ទាំងអស់អញ្ចឹងហើយពេលខ្លះយើងទោះបីយើងយកមកទាំងអស់មែនតែយើងមិនប្រកាសថាយកវាមកប្រើទាំងអស់ដែរ data ខ្លះយើងយកមកពេលយើងត្រូវការប្រើយើងប្រើតែ ID ឬក៏ name អីដើម្បី display នៅក្នុង front end អញ្ចឹងទៅផុតពីហ្នឹងយើងអត់ប្រើអញ្ចឹងរបស់ដែលយើងអត់ប្រើហ្នឹងយើងរាប់ថាវាអត់ប្រយោជន៍អញ្ចឹងអ្វីដែលយើងផ្ញើមក front end ហ្នឹងវានាំវាធ្វើឲ្យ request របស់យើងធំប៉ុន្តែយើងអត់បានប្រើវាទេអញ្ចឹងណាអញ្ចឹង GraphQL ហ្នឹងវាជួយសម្រួលថាអូខេបើសិនជាអាណាអត់ប្រើទេ GraphQL វាថាអូខេយើង request យកតែអាណាដែលយើងចង់ប្រើវាទៅបានហើយអញ្ចឹងគឺថតក្នុង GraphQL វាអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យយើងទៅ say query បានណាអញ្ចឹងយើងថាអូខេនៅក្នុងអា request របស់ user ហ្នឹងខ្ញុំចង់យកតែ ID ហើយនឹង user name ឯងព្រោះពេលដែលវា return data មកវាអត់ return ច្រើនអញ្ចឹងឯងគឺវា return តិចឯងអញ្ចឹងណាអញ្ចឹងវា return តែអីគេតែ ID និង user name ចប់ប៉ុណ្ណឹងឃើញទេអញ្ចឹង data វាគឺ return តែពីរហ្នឹងឯងហើយព្រោះយើងពេលយើងត្រូវការប្រើត្រូវការពីរទេកន្លែងផ្សេងចាំត្រូវការច្រើនចាំយកច្រើនទៅអញ្ចឹងអានេះវាសម្រួលយើងកន្លែងហ្នឹងតែបើ REST API ធ្វើអញ្ចឹងអត់បានទេ data return មិនគឺត្រូវបានអញ្ចឹងតែអានេះសម្រួលឲ្យ return មកតិចអញ្ចឹងដល់ពេលវាសម្រួលបានអញ្ចឹង request របស់យើងពេលយើង request ម្ដងគឺវាអត់សូវ traffic នៅក្នុង request របស់យើងវាអត់សូវស៊ីទំហំធំ data ដែលផ្ញើរវាង server និង back និង front end ណាវាស៊ី space ធំអូខេទាន់នេះមកយកនេះទាន់ខ្ញុំមកយក
Yes teacher
okay okay I hope you could understand that if you want to understand more it's okay you can go to official website make sure you if you don't understand how to implement it it's okay but make sure you understand the concept of the GraphQL why we need it when we use it okay maybe later on when you have a project and you consider to build your own project or some another project or the company project you can consider on the GraphQL okay whether it is useful or not for you but I recommend it to use it okay okay not only inside the browser that you can access the what you can access the GraphQL playground but inside your Postman you also have such a place to play with the GraphQL here okay you can see everywhere they have the GraphQL you can build your query here and they will return you something okay they will tell you here so let's move to our lesson okay let's come back here is how we can implement the GraphQL inside our project we want to make a server an API with the GraphQL okay maybe they have two websites that you can learn from one is the GraphQL official one and another one is the Apollo GraphQL okay why we need the Apollo GraphQL this one is we can say it's such a framework or it's such a library that help you to build the GraphQL in many different website frameworks like React.js, Vue.js, AngularJS, Swell.js, many things. Okay, Apollo GraphQL built on the top of the GraphQL to support many different frameworks. Okay, so for me, I recommend you to use this one because they have a lot of function or a lot of built-in method to support you. Okay, rather than you work directly on the GraphQL. Okay, so in order to create the server with the GraphQL by using the Apollo server, it's kind of easy. You can just install a package with two different packages. One is the GraphQL server, another one is the GraphQL. And what you can do is just import it into your file, Apollo server and the QL, in order to create the schema for your entire GraphQL. Okay. Okay. Now we create a schema for the GraphQL. We have to define what kind of the object you want. It's kind of similar to the the tab script. You create an object tab with the title and the author. Both of them are string. Okay. And another one you have to focus on is the query. What kind of query you want to have? Maybe you want the book query. Okay, you want the book query here. They will they will return such the array of a book. Okay, here's the data type of the book here. Okay, they return the array of the book. Okay, so now we have the query, and another one is the resolver here. Okay, but this one here it's just the schema that to define the definition of the GraphQL, but you have to map it with the real data. Okay, here you have the book data here, the book data. You have title, author, or something else. Okay, and also you have to map the resolver with the schema. Inside the schema, as you can see what the query, and inside the query they have the request called books. Okay, and this is the same thing. They have the query and you have the books, and you have to return the book, the array of a book, the array of the books. Okay, so this is the book request. Okay, so when you map the resolver and the schema, so that you can create the API for the GraphQL. And then after that, you can just create an instance of the Apollo server by just, okay, you can create the new Apollo and Apollo server, and you have to put tab def. What is the tab def here? Tab def is the definition of the GraphQL schema here. Okay, so you put it here and you map it with the resolver, and you got a server. Okay, a server instance, and now you use the server instance and start it to listen to your machine. When you run it, npm install or npm start, and you will run uh, the server inside your system. So they will listen to your local port, whatever, I don't know, but you can use your GraphQL. Okay. Okay, nhưng bây giờ các bạn thích đầm bay thôi là nó dương ở bài muốn dương install package pi năng tới rồi một tiết dương ở các schema bảo vía đây how to capture schema nó dùng các data type với chữ Facebook hay là lấy chi query bảo vía query nóដូចAPI mua mua bảo dương giống như miền đây khác anh ấy query dương trong bạn support đó là dương define tới data để về return cứ array cứ chỉ array hay data type ក្នុង array គឺជា support ហ្នឹងអូខេអញ្ចឹងយើងមកពីជាមួយនឹង data maintain ទៅអានេះជា real data របស់យើងអញ្ចឹងយើង map ទៅអានេះដូចគ្នាអញ្ចឹងគឺអានេះ books ហើយវា return នេះគេ return array របស់ supply ហើយ data នេះគឺមកពីណាគឺមកពីនេះឯងអូខេតមកទៀតយើងចាប់ដើម run server ហ្នឹងទៅគឺយើងគ្រាន់តែធ្វើអីបោះតាពី subscribe យើងប្រកាសហ្នឹងហើយ server ហ្នឹងចាប់តាម run ទៅគឺវាដើរហើយ okay that is the simple process of build of running the GraphQL server. Okay, and to sum up, in case you want to integrate the GraphQL within your Express.js, for now we are doing on the Express.js server. But in case you want to implement such the GraphQL with the Apollo server into your existing or into your current project, it's okay. You can do like this. As you know, we have the Express.js. We already have it, and we just install a module called Apollo Service Server Express, and you have to build a schema, construct a schema for the GraphQL, like what I explained before. And another one is the resolver, is to map between the GraphQL schema and the resolver. They return, you have a request called hello, and they return a string. So this one also the same thing because it is a schema of a resolver. Okay, and the Apollo server here, yeah, as you can see here, already explained. But they use the server here. They apply the middleware by through the app of the Express.js. You can just put the app of the Express.js here, and the Apollo server will be responsible for connecting your server with the GraphQL. Okay, and also they can run it as what we did previously. Okay, it's very simple like that, but it will be more complicated when you work with big data or you work with many different APIs. So it could be very complicated, but it is very structured, better than using REST API. Okay, and after you run it, you can access your GraphQL playground here by localhost port something/GraphQL. Okay, so this is what you can do with the GraphQL. That's all. Okay, any question, everyone? You got what I mean, what I explained inside the exercise 10 and the homework 10, and something new about the GraphQL. Any question? Everyone is okay?តើគ្នាអត់អីទេមែនទេតើខ្ញុំបញ្យល់ទេទៅតងនឹង homework របស់យើងហើយនឹង GraphQL ដែលខ្ញុំបញ្យល់ហ្នឹងហើយយើងចាប់បានខ្លះទេចឹងនេះអូខេ
version
per person អូខេតែនៅក្នុង GraphQL ហ្នឹងយើងបើ GraphQL យើងអត់មានធ្វើទេឬក៏យើងពេលធ្វើ project final project យើងអាចប្រើ GraphQL បានអាស្រ័យលើយើង so everyone you can use the GraphQL inside your final project. It's up to you. Okay, let me ask you something. Have you formed your group yet? Did you discuss about your project or something yet? Everyone. Anyone? You have formed your group already? Or not yet?
already.
Okay. So I recommend you something. I just want to advise you. Make sure for the design, about the UI design, make sure you have a discuss. Maybe you can just have an online meeting together and make a discussion together to design your whole or your entire web application. And then you try to separate the task for your member. Example like, okay, someone responsible for this API and someone responsible for designing the UI, okay, design the front end or something like that. Or maybe you can separate your task by, okay, you respond on this, you are responsible on this feature, and another person responsible on this feature, and you work in the feature. It's both, you have both front end and back end, so you work like a full stack developer. Okay, it is very helpful for you if you work both front end and back end. Why it is so important? Make sure you can understand both the front end and the back end, how it works. You don't need, I think I don't recommend you to work only the front end or only the back end. It's not good. Because when you go to the company, I think for the internship, maybe most of you have to responsible on your own project. Okay? So when you come back, you have to know the whole process of your project. And also when you go to work outside and you want to accept such the freelance project, you don't need to depend on someone else. You just do it by yourself, even you do front end and back end. Even you may take a lot of time for doing the project alone, but you can do it by yourself. You can build it, you can manage it, and you can deploy it to the real world. Okay, so I recommend you to understand the whole process of the software development or the web application development. Okay, especially working with your team member. Okay. Okay, now I will try to explain you about the previous homework, page 9, and include today's paper. Okay. Okay, now we come to. Okay, let's take a look at the previous paper. Okay, we have. Okay, I will try to explain on the exercise 3 that we focus on implementing the token inside the cookie. Okay, so what we have to check is here, and what we have to learn inside the the API request is about the middleware function. Okay, I told you, or I assign you the assignment for you to build such the validation um, middleware function and the authentication middleware function. Okay, what is the authentication middleware function? It is used to verify whether a user is authorized or not before they go through the operation or the expression of the of, of this API. Okay, so when they request for login, we have to make sure that the user is in the logout state. Okay, if the user is in the logout status, okay, if they are in the logout status, it's okay. We can access this login and we just verify the parameter validation, and then we can go through this process, and then we can just go to the login service or something like that. Okay, but if the user is already logged in or already signed up to the system, if the user is already signed into the system, when they access this API, we will say something like, okay, you cannot access this API because you are already signed in, so they will reject it. Okay. Okay, let me try to run this for you. Okay. Uh, okay, this one npm start. The server is running on this one, and we just open the Postman. In case you try to make a login, okay, it's okay, you can log in, but when you log in again, they will say like, okay, you are already signed in. Okay. If you try to access the user information here, okay, you can access the user information. Why? Because here they say like, okay, if you are already logged in or already signed in, you can access the user information. Okay. But in case maybe if you log out and then you try to access the user information, they will say, okay, you must sign in first. Okay. Because when you log out, you don't have any token anymore. So they will ask you to here, they will ask you to sign in. Okay. So any API with the insert sign in middleware function, they require you to sign in first, okay, before accessing. Like these three API, not these two API, they ask you to sign in first, okay, to log in first before you get through this, okay, this logic function, okay. So like, okay, the user and the logout. Example like the logout. Okay, now you cannot get the user, and even inside the logout function, when you try to log out, they say, okay, you have to sign in first before you log out. Okay. And another, maybe inside the login, if you are already logged in and you try to register some new member, they will say, okay, you are already signed in. So if you take a look inside our API and the process of our API, it is very clean, okay, to reject you if you are doing the wrong process, okay. It is very clean. Why we need to apply the authentication and the validation here? We can prevent a lot of things. If you go to, I just want to show you something. Maybe inside this, okay, inside which website? Let me see. Inside this website, if you come to expect the element and you go to the network here, you can see inside this API they have a lot of requests. You can see here, right? You can see they have so many requests. Like I want to find something like, okay, grid or something, and when I make a request, you can see they have maybe a lot of requests inside here. I don't know which one is my request for searching something, but I just want to make sure here, if there is some attacker, they try to attack your website, maybe if they know your API, they can access your API through some information. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe maybe you can go to the Google Map and you try to find like Phnom Penh something here, and you can see they have some API running here, some requests here, but I don't know which one is mine. There are too many. Okay, I don't know. Let's check on an API. It's hard to explain this one. Anyway, in every API, they have I cannot find. Okay, here is the search API. Okay, inside the API, everyone can access it publicly. Okay, you can access. Okay, in this API, they make an API request based on this maybe this URL, and you have some response header and request header. Okay, they request it with something else, and then you receive they respond back something like this and they return some data. Okay. If you don't have such a secure API, maybe someone may see your data here and they can just copy your request API and apply any information they want, and they just want to inject information they want from your database. Okay. In order to prevent something like that, you have to check first whether the user is signed in or not. If they are already signed in, okay, they can access the user. If they are not signed in yet, they cannot access this user information. Okay. And also you can have some rejection or validation method to enhance your API request. Okay, this is very important. Okay, now get to understand how we store the cookie, how we store the token inside the cookie. Okay. So firstly, what you have to know when I try to make a request for login, I have to ensure that the user must not be authorized, has to be unauthorized. Okay, and then we check the validation, and we try a login. When you log in, you will check like, okay, you have to find the user in by email. If the user is not existed, you have to reject it like the user cannot be found. And if you can find a user, you have to compare the previous password with the incoming password. Okay, and if you take a look inside this here, okay, inside the schema here, inside the MongoDB schema, it's not mean you can just apply such this schema information. You can apply the validation here as well. Okay, and also you can define some, middleware function. You can apply some method inside of it, and you can apply some static method inside of the schema. It is easy for you. For me, whenever they have something change inside the field of the password, I have to make an encryption. Okay? But in case here I create another method to compare the password. Okay, so they compare two passwords, the previous one and the incoming one, whether it is match or not. If it is match, it is this one is the method I can call it and I can compare it. I don't need to write any logic stuff inside this place. Okay, it will be very complicated and messy. They are very messy here. So I just create another function inside the schema. So it is very clean inside our code. Okay. So if it is success, if it is successfully logged in, we have to return the complete user information. If it's not, we have to return the error or something like that. Okay. And then inside the login, when they return the error, when they return the user, I think here we have something, maybe if they return the error, they will get this empty or undefined information here. But if they successfully return, you can use the information to create a token. Okay, now I create a function for creating a token. Okay, this function I created inside the utility file here. Let's see, let's go inside here. So now you can see I create a system token and with the user ID and email. So I create an object with the user ID and email, and I encrypt this object by a secret number. Oh, sorry, a secret string. So you have to define a secret string in order to encrypt your data. When you want to decrypt it back, you have to use the same secret. Okay, the same secret string. ក្នុងករណីដែលយើងចង់ encrypt token របស់យើងនឹងបង្កើត token ណាអានេះយើងអាចបង្កើតចេញពីអីក៏បានដែរតែខ្ញុំចង់បង្កើតចេញពី user ID និង email ហើយអានេះជា password ដែលខ្ញុំយកសម្រាប់ encrypt ពេលខ្ញុំ decrypt មកវិញខ្ញុំប្រើ password នឹងដែរវានឹងបាន data នឹងមកវិញចឹងបើសិនខ្ញុំអត់បើខ្ញុំ encrypt អញ្ចឹងទៅខ្ញុំដាក់ password នេះពេលវា return ចេញពីអាហ្នឹងវាជា data ញ៉ៃញ៉ៃដែលយើងមើលអត់យល់តែយើងហៅថាវាជា token. So now we have a token created by this function. So we have to set the token to the session. Okay, what is the session? I like I mentioned last week, I asked you to install such about this package. Okay, it's called Express Session. Is to handle some feature for you, like okay, you can save the cookie inside your browser. Okay, inside the session they have another encryption method. So now we have double encryption. Okay, inside the session, if you use the encryption method, you have to apply the password here, and you have some other property. And inside your cookie, you have to store something named access token. Okay, so here's the expiration of your cookie, something like that. Okay, so when you apply the session inside the middleware function of the app, okay, here they allow you to set the cookie through the request in every route. Okay, inside the route request here, you can access the session and you can assign any variable you want. For me, I just put it like JWT and it's equal, and I replace the token inside the JWT here. Okay. So now they have the token set into the cookie. So you have the information set into the cookie. Okay. So when you log in, you save your cookie into the session, or you save the token into your browser cookie. Okay. And then whenever you make a request uh, for something like okay, ensure sign in, make sure you are already signed in. So if you take a look inside this middleware function, they will say something like, okay, in the middleware function, they have the request, they have the response, and the next. Okay, so to make sure that you are signed in, it, it's the same like okay, you already have a token, so they will check okay if your request has the token JWT. If they don't have, okay, we have the inverse sign here, inverter sign here. So they will return the JSON like, okay, you must sign in, but something else, they will return you successfully. Okay. And another one, we have another function to make sure that you are not signed in yet. So if you already have the token, maybe they will say, okay, you are already signed in. You don't need to request to this API anymore. So something else will be successfully proceed. Okay. So we have these two middleware functions to validate the token. Okay, to validate this token. Okay, we have these two functions. So in every request, you have to put this function for the authentication middleware function. You have to check whether the user is authorized or not. Okay. So now we have two different important middleware function. One is about the authentication, another one is the validation. Okay, so we don't need to write everything inside this together. It will be very messy for you. So just do it inside the um, middleware function. And for the join validation function, you can see here I implement it like this. When they put the schema here, and we have to validate whether the input is uh, is working fine with the schema, and they will return it. And if they have something wrong, there's something wrong, they will return the error. Okay, this is what you can validate the schema. Okay, so you can use the join validation and put it as the middleware function here. Even inside this one, log out because they don't have the parameters. Okay, okay. I think that's almost everything I try to explain inside the TP9 here. Okay, everyone is okay with my explanation? I show you almost everything. You can just follow my source code, or you can do it by yourself and submit as your TP. Okay. make sure you understand all of the process, and this work will be used for your final project as well. Okay, in every proposed project, all of them are included the authentication, okay, inside of all of them. So make sure you know how it works. And also it is very important when you try to learn some framework. Example, like maybe you learn Laravel with the PHP. They already have this function built inside the framework. But if you have some error or some problem, if you don't know the inside process of the middleware function or inside process of how the token, how the cookie work, it will be difficult for you to work with those framework. Okay, so here is the main concept. I don't say it's 100% correct, but it is a good way to show you that how it works, and you can implement it by your own algorithm, by your own brilliant, logic. It's up to you. Okay. Okay. Now, anyone have any question?
Yes, teacher.
Okay.
Teacher, can you show me service with register and user?
I think you can do it by yourself, but I can show you to log in. Maybe you can just for the register here, but for the rest, you can do it by yourself. For the register here, you have something like this. You check whether you have the user, and you create a new user and create it into your database and return it back, okay, to your front end. That's all. And for the logout, it is you just define the session to null, or you can destroy it. All of this function or this method can be found inside the package. npm package, you can just find it. They will say something about that. When you try to make a logout request, okay, we have to pass session here, and then we just remove the cookie, or we just assign it to another different value. I think that's all. Any question?
And about user, teacher.
About what?
User in service.
I think you can do it by yourself. Anyway, you can see it. Just find it and return it back. Just find in your database, okay? And then return it by the user ID. I think something simple like that, you can do it by yourself. Okay? And I think that's all. So something I want you to know and to understand is about the process of the token and cookie, okay, and the middleware function, how it works.
Teacher, when you check on in service, I don't see like rival JWT. How does it go on?
Inside the survey?
Yes, with rival JWT, and I see you create, but I don't see use in the service. How it work?
Okay, for the JWT, I created with this function, okay? This function called create. This function, I create this function inside this file. Okay, I create it here. And then what they return something back. Okay, they return from this function. So I call the return data as a token. ចឹងអា function ហ្នឹងវា return token ណាពេលយើងបង្កើតវាហើយវា create វា encrypt data វាយកអា string encrypted ហ្នឹងវា return ចេញមក function ហ្នឹងវិញហើយខ្ញុំចាប់ token ហ្នឹងខ្ញុំ save ក្នុងនេះហើយនៅពេលដែល save ក្នុង session ហ្នឹងវាកើតទៅជា cookie មួយ okay, so now it become a cookie when you assign the token inside here. Okay, so now you have the cookie, or you have a token inside your cookie. So whenever you make a request, I don't check any JWT inside any services. I check it inside the middleware function. You see, insert design in here. We check it here, request session JWT. Request session JWT. When they don't have the JWT, we return something accordingly. You got what I explained? Okay. Ton yang bijol.
Just so when we test with Postman, we will to change with cookie time option or no?
Inside the Postman, here, as you can see, make sure pretend that we don't have any cookie here. So when you try to make a login, here you can see you don't have any cookie. And if it's, when you make a login, it will save you the data called token inside your cookie here. Okay, you can see here is your encrypted information. Where it come from? Here, here. When you set this information into the session, okay. Who manage the session? Here, this package. Okay? They manage with this access token. Okay, access token name. You can find it here. Okay, access token. Okay, here's the data. Understand?
Just thank you.
Okay, now if you don't have any more question, okay, if you don't have any more question, we will go. I will try to explain a little bit more about the homework number 10 about the front end. Okay, front end and some API for the back end. Okay, inside the first exercise, we have two different projects. One is the front end and another one is the back end. Okay, Node.js is the back end and Vue.js is the front end. Okay, as you know. So you have to implement it as what I explained. Okay, let's go to npm start. Okay, we are running the backend with the localhost port 3001, and we are running the Vue.js. Sorry, npm run down, if I remember. Okay, now we run the front end with the port 3000 and the back end with the 3001. Okay, so as you know, we have back end and front end. So when you do your own project, I recommend you to separate the front end and the back end so they can working together. Okay, when you do your final project, you can prepare your project like this. Okay, front end, back end, and front end. Okay, inside the back end, as you can see, I have something new, like okay, /get me, something like this. Okay, I just want to edit /get me here, and another one is another middleware function. This middleware function is to extract the information from the token. Okay, here you have the token. Here you have a token like this. You have now I move something like create a session token to inside the service. And now we create token, and the token. Okay, I return the token back. But when I have the token, I use the token and set it to the session here. Okay, but if you see how we get the token, we can get the token from an object. Okay, an object that has ID and email. Then token របស់យើងបង្កើតដោយប្រើ data របស់វាគឺ user ID ហើយនិង email. Okay, so now we can get a token by encrypting an object with ID and email, and if you want to get this information back, you have to decrypt it. Okay, so when we create a token, and this token send back to the front end inside the cookie. Okay, and inside this slash me request, we don't receive any user ID, but we will try to get the user ID by the token. Okay, because inside the token we have the ID and the email. ចឹងនៅក្នុង token យើងមាន ID និង email. ចឹងដើម្បីបាន ID របស់ user ដែល log in ហ្នឹងយើងត្រូវការ convert a token ហ្នឹងមកជា data យើងវិញ. So in order to get the information of a user ID and email, we have to convert or we have to decrypt the information of the token. Okay, in order to do that, I create another middleware function here. So you can see here, it is I call it a current user middleware function. Okay, we have to check whether we have the token. If they don't have, we have to return some error like this. But if they have the token, we have to do something like, okay, request session, we have to use the token inside here, and then we use the secret key, okay, in order to convert it back to a user. That a user has two information. One is the ID and another one is the email. So we assign it to the request. So inside the request, we have another object is the current user. So when you come back here, whichever router that has this middleware function, they have current user parameter. Even this one, they have current user parameter. This one, they have current user parameter. But inside this one, if we don't apply the current user middleware function, of course, they don't have the current user or variable inside this request. Okay, so I have a user information that I can get it from the token, and I use this information to get the user data. So I create a function called find by ID. So inside this function, okay, they try to find the user by the ID, and the ID we got from the token. Okay, so inside the me request, so inside the me request, I can get the user information. When I log in with this user, I can get the user information here. Okay, as you can see inside the me request, I don't pass any user ID. But why they know I request this user? Because the user ID is already stored inside the access token here. Okay, I hope you understand that. As you know, in every request, they request with the header information. So inside this header information here, whenever we make the request, they will pass the token here. Okay, we cannot understand it. It is the encrypted one. So they will use this along with the request, and this one it is for the response, but the request also have the cookie like this. We have to apply it in order to get the user information. Okay, any questions? Now we have another middleware function. Anyone understand what it means? Okay, is it good to go? Okay, I hope everything's fine for everyone. As I mentioned, you can ask me whenever you want if you don't understand, or you can do your own research. This one is the first homework. And okay, another one inside the first homework, we check in the front end. Okay, inside the front end, okay, let me run the front end. Okay, we can access our front end by this localhost 3000. Now we come to the front end, and you can go to the register page here, and you can come back to the login here. Okay, but as you can see inside the cookie, we have a cookie, one cookie called access token. But if you try to access to the home page, but they still say you must sign in. I want to know why. Why we cannot access to the home page even we already have the token, the access token. Anyone know? Someone know?
Again, teacher, can you ask?
Hmm?
Teacher, can you ask again?
Okay. As I explained before, if we have the token, it means like you already logged in. So if you are already logged in, why you cannot access to the home page? You can see they say you must sign in. Why? ចឹងបើសិនយើងមាន token ហើយអាហ្នឹងដូចយើង log in ហើយតែអានេះយើងមាន token ហើយពេលយើង access មកមិនក៏វាថាយើងឲ្យយើង log in ទៀត Why? Anyone know why? Tell me why.
Maybe cookie is expired.
Yeah, you are right. The token is already expired because I tested with the previous class. It is the cookie, and because I rerun the, I rerun or restart the server, so that's why it is already expired. So even you have it, but it doesn't work. So when you try to go to the home page, you still cannot access the home page. So in order to renew your token again, you have to log in again. Okay, let me log in with this email. I'm not sure. Let's try. Okay, it worked now. Okay, now it works. So we can come to the homework without any error. And I access the I access you see the me request here. And the me request, I access it here. And along with my request, we send the token here. Okay. And as you can see, we have the response information here and something like that. Here we have the response information. So I use the information here to put it here. Okay. So now we have the information of a user. Okay. So if we log out, it means we try to change. We try to remove the token. Okay. When we try to log out. And then when we try to access to the home page, they will say like, okay, you must sign in first. Okay. Here, I just show you the alert here, but for your case, you can create such a big screen and saying like, okay, you must log in first or something like that. Don't allow someone to see your home page before you log in. Okay. So you just okay. So you have to log in first. Okay. So make sure that your website working. Your website is working fine, like this one. Maybe you can create the new account here. I think you can just follow that. Okay, I think this one is the demo for the front end. In the Vue.js, you have to do it. But I want to notify something for you. I have some error when I try to do it. I think it would be very useful, and it is important for you to understand the front end here in order to set the inside the login. Okay, inside the login, you can see we have a fetch request as we did before. Okay, we have this, and we have to provide. Make sure you have to provide credential include They have another value, some other value like send size or something like that. But we use include. Why we use include? Because our server domain name and the front end domain name, they have different domain name. One is the 3000, the port 3000, and another one is 3001. So that's why they have different domain name. So we use include. And also when you use this credential include, they help you to set um, what set the cookie correctly. If you don't have this one, if you don't have this one, when I try to log in, sometimes they set the cookie, but sometimes not. Mostly they don't set the cookie inside here. Okay, so make sure you apply this. Okay, make sure you apply this, and for the rest, and it's okay. When you apply this one, they can. When you apply this one, when you try to log in here, when you try to log in, you see the header. They will send you like, okay, access token or something like that, or they can have the token inside your browser. But if you don't set it into the browser cookie, of course you will fail. When you will always, you will, you will always uh, getting the fail message whenever you try to go to the home page. Okay, so just be careful to that. Any questions? I know I don't focus much on the front end. I know you are learning with the cost hour. I think it's okay for you. You can ask more detail with the lecturer Taura, more detail about that. But for me, I think it's okay for you to focus with him, and I try to explain you more about the backend because it's time for you to have your own project. So it's very important for you to understand the backend process in order to connect to the front end. For the design or something to create the UI to manage the state inside the front end inside the view, I think it's okay for you to learn inside your course hour. You can make you can have a detailed information with your lecturer. Okay, and another one is the last one is about the exercise 2. It is very simple. Very simple. You can just create the request with delete user, update user, uh, update password, or you can have another one. I forgot to put it inside the template. It says to get all the user, okay, all user information. You can get it here, okay. And also you can learn how to apply the authentication middleware inside this one, inside all of this. All of this one, and also you have to add the join validation into every request, okay, to make sure you can do it correctly, and you have to map it with the service, okay. Inside the service, you have another user service. Yeah, here find a user, find all, update password, update information, some other information, and remove the user from the database or from the system. Okay, I think that's all for you. Uh, that's all for you to do. Okay, and maybe you have any question you can ask me. And you have some error. I don't know. You can just create some more schemas. I have only two, but when you try to create this route, you have to create it more. Okay. I just want you to make a practice with applying the middleware function. Make sure you do it correctly. Okay. I try you to show you everything now. I hope you can just copy the source code from me and make you yourself to understand all of this process. Okay, and I hope you can use all of this functionality and this process for your own final project. Anyway, if you can do this authentication, you complete one task already. Okay. You have authentication task inside your work. So you complete this one, you are successfully for your first task. Okay, I think that's all for me today. Any question? You can ask me about your personal project as well, your final project. I try to give you some time to discuss.
Hello, teacher. How about calculate expire cookie?
You want to check the spy cookie? You can come here. You can hear. I think this this is it accepts the what millisecond. It it accepts the millisecond, so you can convert it to your maybe you if you multiply it by 24, it will be 1 day. Or you can this 1 day 1,000 millisecond multiply by 60, it must be 1 second. Oh no, this one millisecond, 1 second, 2 hours. This one 1 hour, and this one multiply by 2, it become 2 hours. And if you want to put it 1 day, 24 hours, and you want to put it 2, it become 2 days. And if you want to put 7, it become 1 week. 1 week, okay. So if you want to multiply it by 2, it become 2 weeks. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I think it follow this rule. Okay. Is it okay? Con bây giờ.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, I hope you understand. They accept maybe the millisecond. If you want to know more detail about that, you can just go to the detailed document about the express session. Okay, they will tell you. And also, if you want to check when your cookie is expired, you can see it here. Okay. Okay, maybe you cannot see here. You can come here. You can check it here. Access token, and you can see when it will be expired. Okay, you can see here. Okay, this hour or time, something like that. I think when they save it, I don't know, they save it in some format. It might be different from our local time. It will follow some international standard time. I'm not sure, but you can check it how to convert it into your local time. But if you don't want to care about it, it's okay. Just ignore it. No? Okay. All right. I think that's all. Any question? More? Have any more questions? Arthur, are you okay with the class today? With the today class?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, good for you. Okay, I think if you don't have any problem, it's okay. We can stop today. But when you try to implement it by yourself and you have any problem, just contact me directly. Okay. Okay, that's all for today. See you everyone. See you later. Bye bye.
Bye,
Bye bye.
teacher.
Teacher, thank you. Bye.
See you. See you.